Bill Goldthorpe is the most jailed hockey story you have never truly heard.
Man has had a very...
The man who inspired Ogie Ogilthorpe in Slapshot says he was arrested nearly 50 times and jailed about 30 times. He also recalls hundreds of fights away from the rink. On the ice, he was an enforcer who never backed down. Off the ice, he sometimes stepped in to protect people who were in danger. There was a riot in Johnstown, an arrest in Rochester, a gunshot in San Diego, and a knife on Mission Beach. He could score, draw crowds, and still carry quiet regret for a missed open net and a refused assignment that might have led to the NHL. This is not a glorification of violence. It is a portrait of a complicated competitor shaped by hard towns, harder lessons, and a stubborn code of loyalty. Stay to the end to see why his real life ran beyond the movie. Before we begin, please subscribe and turn on notifications to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. He grew up in Hornpain, a railroad town in northern Ontario where work was hard and winter felt endless. The rink was a gathering place and a proving ground. As a boy, he learned to skate with force and to stand up for himself. At a minor tournament, he stepped between a man and a referee to defend a spectator, and that act of fearlessness caught the eye of coach Albert Cava. The invitation that followed took him to Thunder Bay Vulcans, where his role began to form. He hit, he forechecked, and he accepted the heavy chores that most young players avoid. The identity of an enforcer did not arrive by accident. It was shaped by small-town grit, crowded rinks, and a willingness to carry the rough work for his team. At 17 in northern Ontario, the edge boiled over. A group of men taunted him outside a hangout. He answered with his fists, dropping 5 in a blur. Police filed 5 counts of assault. The sentence was 75 days. At the same time, he was already suspended from junior hockey for striking a linesman. Friends arranged for him to serve the time in Thunder Bay, so when the suspension expired, he could return to the team. The incident hardened his reputation and fixed his path. Toughness was no longer an idea. It was a cost he had paid, and a burden he chose to carry into every rink. At a team trip through Green Bay, tempers flared with a teammate at the airport. Words turned into shoves, and the scuffle crossed a line. Management moved on without him. He stood alone as the team flew home, a young player already wearing the weight of his choices. When he tried to cross back into Canada, border officials held him for a full day while paperwork cleared. The delay was humiliating and unforgettable. It set a tone that would follow him for years, a warning written in travel logs and police forms. Later, the chaos of that moment would echo on screen in the way Ogie is first introduced. He arrived in Syracuse, ready for the harsher rhythm of minor pro. Shifts were short, collisions were heavy, and respect was earned the hard way. He drove the forecheck, finished every hit, and when the game demanded it, he dropped the gloves. The points came in bursts, proof that he could do more than police the ice. The penalty minutes mounted even faster, a ledger of nights spent in the box. The blonde afro became a beacon in rinks across the North American League, and his name spread city to city on word of mouth. By spring, his reputation was set. He could play, he could punish, and he would not back away. Late in 1974, Syracuse rolled into Johnstown, and a line brawl tore open the night. Bodies piled into the penalty box, tempers ignited, and the noise climbed. Bart Butow barked back at the stands, picked out a heckler, and the crowd crossed a line of its own. A drunk surge spilled over the plexiglass and into the box. Goldthorpe and teammates fought a path to the dressing room and barricaded the door while the building throbbed with anger. Police arrived with dogs to push the mob back and clear a route. Up in the booth, a young Bob Costas stretched the broadcast for more than half an hour, filling time so the team could be moved out without sparking another confrontation. When the players reached the lot, the bus rocked under a ring of fists. A brick punched through a window and glass sprayed the aisle. Only a police escort peeled the bus away from the arena and into the dark highway. It felt less like a road game and more like an escape scene, the kind that later made a movie look restrained. In Rochester, the fight did not end at the final whistle. It spilled down the tunnel where tempers were already close to breaking. Security called the police, and officers moved in with purpose. Goldthorpe and 4 teammates were separated from the scrum, lined up, and marched to the paddy wagon still wearing shoulder pads, sweater, and tape on their hands. The scene was surreal. Rubber flooring scuffed by skate guards and the echo of blades on concrete. Paperwork and interviews followed at the station while the rink emptied into a cold night. By morning, the story was moving through the league offices and local papers. Another night, another line crossed, and a reputation hardened into something officials could not ignore. The call came in the spring of 1974. St. Paul needed edge for the playoffs, and Goldthorpe stepped into the lineup without hesitation. The pace was faster, the boards were harder, and every shift felt like a test. He found the rhythm quickly, finishing checks, leaning on defenders, and answering every stare. Over 3 playoff games, he fought in each one, a blunt reminder that intimidation can tilt a series even when minutes are short. Minnesota brought another twist. There were no late bar runs, no street dust-ups, and no trips to a holding cell. He skated, he sat for penalties, and he went back to the hotel. For once, the headlines came from the rink and stayed there. Across the middle of the 1970s, his file grew heavier than his gear bag. He moved through 10 minor teams and 4 World Hockey Association clubs, leaving rinks where crowds rose when his skates touched the ice. 6 professional leagues suspended him, and 3 senior leagues did the same. The North American League went further and banned him outright. The pattern was simple: a punishing hit, a fight that swung momentum, then a hearing, a suspension, a fine, and another bus ticket to another city. Coaches valued his edge because it created space for scorers and changed the temperature of a game. Officials viewed the same edge as a risk that had to be restrained. By the end of that run, his career ledger showed about 194 games and more than 1,100 penalty minutes. The numbers were not a myth. They were the hard cost of a role he accepted and the reputation he carried. The arrest that drew the most double takes was not after a brawl. It was for unpaid parking tickets while he was instructing at a hockey school in Binghamton. Officers met him at the rink and walked him out still wearing his sweater, pads, and skate guards. At the courthouse, he explained that he used to take the tickets off the windshield and sign autographs on the back for kids. The judge turned the matter into a small fine of $80 and sent him on his way. It was absurd and oddly human, a moment that showed how a feared enforcer could still make a room laugh. There were 2 choices he wished he could take back. The first came in Syracuse with an open net and a 10-game winning streak on the line. He tried to go high and stylish instead of sliding the puck across the goal line. He missed, the game finished level, and the streak ended. The second came at the Toronto Maple Leafs camp in 1976. After 2 exhibitions, the club wanted him to report to Dallas in the Central League without a guaranteed contract. He walked away. Years later, he admitted that he should have gone to Dallas and fought his way up. The lesson ran deep. Talent and toughness matter, but judgment matters more, especially when a door to the NHL is briefly open. San Diego in 1980 turned into a reckoning. He went to pull an ex-girlfriend away from a man tied to cocaine, and a fight erupted in a cramped room. In the scramble, a small caliber handgun flashed. The bullet tore into his abdomen, missing a kidney, but shredding his small intestine and damaging his urinary tract. 5 weeks in hospital, followed by nearly 2 years of recovery, forced him to measure every step. The second ordeal came on Mission Beach. He saw a woman being assaulted inside a van and rushed in. The attacker slashed his triceps with a knife and drove for his chest, a thrust he blocked with his forearm before landing a counter that sent the man running. Police later suggested the assailant was high on a dissociative drug. Both nights revealed the same code. He did not walk past violence when someone needed help. He absorbed the cost, stitched himself back together, and kept moving. After the carousel of suspensions, he turned to senior hockey in New Brunswick, where his name alone could swell a gate. Riverview booked him because people came to see a hard man compete, and he delivered with heavy shifts and a controlled edge. Word spread that his draws sometimes outpaced a local American Hockey League crowd, and invitations followed. including interest from Doug Messier's Moncton Alpins. Off the ice, he rebuilt his frame with discipline, traded late nights for early lifts, and earned the Mr. New Brunswick title in 1985. The training room replaced the penalty box as the place where he paid a price. He still carried the old fire, but it burned inside a routine that valued work, calm, and the daily choice to be stronger than yesterday. He was the living spark behind Ogie Ogilthorpe, yet he never wore the costume on screen. The studio passed because of concerns about his behavior away from the rink, and the role went to Ned Dowd. For years, he wanted no part of the film that borrowed from his chaos. He refused to watch it, carrying a private resentment that matched his public reputation. In 1989, he finally sat down with it and was surprised by how much he enjoyed the rough humor and the truth it carried. Invitations followed to golf days, reunions, and charity events. He eventually met writer Nancy Dowd, who expected fury and found a courteous man. The circle closed with a handshake and a story shared. In recent years, he has lived in British Columbia, working on construction sites and keeping a steady routine of lifting before dawn. Bien bien, the old fire remains, but it burns inside discipline rather than nightly brawls. He can be abrupt when challenged and once lost a job after a pre-dawn confrontation. Yet he speaks with pride about honest work and the quiet dignity of showing up. He is still the figure who could change the temperature of a rink, now channeled into a life that values restraint, effort, and loyalty. What stays with people is not only the fights, but a stubborn will to stand up, rebuild, and keep going. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out more great hockey stories right here on the channel. Your support truly means a lot to us. Thank you for watching.